Hello, welcome again to Just Ask. This is a question that I get a lot of times, and it's, will INFPs cheat? Now, as an INFP female myself, I can tell you about my experience and how I feel. That being said, it's very important to remember that people are human regardless of their personality type. That being said, also, there are people that are less likely to do it and people that are more likely to do it. That doesn't mean that because of your personality type, you would never do it at all. Now, from what I can say, I am very altruistic when it comes to people's feelings. I don't like being around people all the time, but especially when it comes to the people that I love, I will do anything for them and I would never want to hurt them. Now, coupled with the fact that I've been cheated on multiple times, I would never do that to anyone. However, there are cases where I'll make up my mind to leave the person. I found that in relationships where I tried to leave and the other party didn't want me to leave or didn't want to end the relationship, I would be totally honest with them. I would say, if I stay in this relationship, it is going to make me unhappy. It's going to make you unhappy. We can still be friends, or if that's too impossible to do, we just have to not talk to each other. I usually get a response saying that either they would love for the both of us or something silly and young and dumb. To that response, I would let them know that I'm going to like other people. And usually what happens with the INFP, since we don't want to hurt people, which is the weirdest thing, we'll start to drift away from that person. If we're already in an actual relationship with you, we'll start to drift away. We'll start to not want to have sex with you. And if you're a mature INFP, you'll actually say something. The only problem is that it takes so long for us to work up to it because we're trying to figure out the best way to not confront the person about it. However, our feelings are so strong that after a while, our need to want to be with other people or not want to hurt the person by being fake with our feelings is going to override our desire to not hurt that person, because we'll realize in the long run, it will end up hurting them if we continue not responding in kind with our affection. I think the problem also with INFPs is that we're very nice, so even though we won't want to be sexually intimate with you, we'll still be friendly with you and we'll want to be friends. But in that case, we will call it quits with the relationship. Now, whether or not the other party decides to not accept that we're together is a different story. I had a situation similar to that with one of my boyfriends who just didn't want to let go. And I told him that for me, the relationship was over. He didn't want to let go. To him, we were still boyfriend and girlfriend. I told him I'm going to like other people. He's like, that's fine. I'll just love you for the both of us. I don't know what kind of statement that is. Apparently, it's a common thing that people say. But I told him, okay, that's not going to make either of us happy. And what ended up happening, I started liking someone else. And the quickest and easiest way for an INFP to completely sever from somebody else in a past relationship is to find somebody new, which we usually always do. It's usually very easy for us. Let me tell you, it is such an uncomfortable and awkward position, but I don't ever go out of my way to cheat on the person. Now, what will happen is that as I'm distancing myself from that person, I will start to emotionally bond with somebody else. And INFPs tend to be very, very loyal. So the reasons that they'll cheat are usually very warranted. It's not just, oh, my partner is out of sight, out of mind. No, it is usually a reason that has either betrayed us or something that they've done to betray us. They're not ambitious enough, they're lying, or they're just not the person that we wanted to be with. Maybe you're bored of that person because they're not up to your standard. Like, the person's always depending on you to make all the decisions, and INFPs tend to not like that when it comes to romantic relationships. As much as we are totally capable of taking responsibility in situations where somebody else isn't as responsible, we really don't like staying in those roles. We don't like being disciplinarians. We don't like being people who have to always be making decisions for everyone else. We're free spirits. We don't like having control over people or being the strict one that has to put everyone in line. So usually if we're with partners like that, while it's fun in the beginning, it starts to wear on them after a while. And many mature INFPs will realize this and already make up in their heads that this is not a serious relationship. They'll even be honest up front and tell you, the person, that it's not a serious relationship. Now, here's where the very touchy subject comes in. And I can say this from my experience, and some people may think of it in a bad way, some people may not. Since it is hard for INFPs to break off from people that they care about or people that they're currently in a relationship with, they have to find somebody else to latch onto before they can sever. Once they are bonded or once their interest is in someone else, it is much easier to break off from the person that they're with. They won't outward cheat on the person, most of them. Most INFPs have the ability to see beyond their consequences. They don't just react. We usually overthink things to a fault, but in this case, we think about the damage it's going to do to our reputation and the person. So what we'll do is we'll emotionally cheat with someone else. We'll look for somebody else. We don't really go out of our ways to look for people to befriend unless we're trying to get out of a romantic situation with somebody else that we know is bad for us, or we don't want to be in a relationship anymore. It's the weirdest thing. It is the quickest way that you will see an INFP become this social vampire. It will just seek out social interaction with somebody so that they can have an excuse to break up with a person and not feel guilty about it. So let's say that you're in a relationship with an INFP and they found out something about you that they just didn't like, some deal breaker. And in one of the past videos, I had mentioned that you will notice them starting to distance themselves from you. During this time, the way that they emotionally distance themselves from you is they will find somebody else, as I just said, to emotionally latch onto. Whether it be to fantasize with that person, they'll probably just make up the whole thing in their head and say, oh, this person right here is a real person that I'd like to hook up with. Let me see who's in the area. Let me see which person I could actually hook up with. Let me make a friend over here somewhere. And in that way, they're rationalizing in their mind that it will be easier for me to break off from this person if I am now loyal to this new person, because I don't want to hurt this new person and I want to put all my affection to this person, and I can't do that if I'm still latched on to somebody else. Also, if that person sees that I'm with someone new, it will be more of a motivation for them to let go. That's just how we reason sometimes. But because we don't want to hurt people, we wouldn't go out of our way to cheat on the person, or we would think very, very carefully if we're going to do something like that. But yes, if you want to talk about cheating per se, an INFP, if you're at the ass end of your relationship, they will emotionally cheat on you first. Now, if for some reason an INFP does go full step with cheating, they will be so guilty that you'll know right off the bat that something's wrong with them. They'll just shut down totally from the guilt of it, and they'll just want to break up with you, and it will be over. They'll just become unraveled at the seams because the guilt will kill them, which is the reason why most INFPs won't even get that far. Either that, or they'll get just really defensive and really angry and they'll just break the relationship off right there and then. Anyways, I hope that kind of answers the question. If you guys want, I'd like to go into detail with it in a later video if you'd like. But if you have any other questions or suggestions for topics, just ask.